6 years ago, I lost everything when my ex-girlfriend falsely accused me of rape. My family, who I thought would stand by me through anything immediately, cut me off without even giving me a chance to explain. The pain of being abandoned by the people who raised me, who were supposed to love me unconditionally, nearly destroyed me. Last week, out of nowhere, my phone lit up with my mother's name for the first time in 6 years. They want back in my life, completely unaware of the person I've become without them. Before I tell you how my family betrayed me and what happened when they tried to come back, let me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you've ever had to rebuild your life after losing someone's trust. At 26, I was building what I thought was a good life in Columbus, Ohio. I had a promising position as a marketing executive at a growing tech firm, a close-knit family that gathered for Sunday dinners every week, and a 2-year relationship with Jenna, who I had met through mutual friends at a college alumni event. Our families knew each other well. Jenna had attended high school with my sister Amber, and our mothers volunteered at the same community center. My parents adored her, always commenting on her charm and ambition. They frequently hinted about engagement, showing her family heirloom rings whenever she visited. What they did not see was how the relationship had deteriorated. Jenna had become increasingly controlling, checking my phone while I showered, accusing me of flirting when I talked to female colleagues, and manipulating me with tears or silent treatment whenever I tried to establish boundaries. I stayed longer than I should have, making excuses for her behavior and hoping things would improve. The breaking point came when I discovered she had been cheating on me with not one but 3 different guys from her office. I found messages on her tablet that she had forgotten to sign out of while using my Wi-Fi. The conversations were explicit and had been going on for months while I had remained faithful despite her constant accusations. When I confronted her with evidence instead of apologizing, she flew into a rage. As I calmly told her our relationship was over and asked for my apartment key back, her expression changed from anger to something colder. "You will regret this, Bobby," she said with frightening calm. "I will make sure everyone knows what kind of man you really are." I mistook this for typical breakup drama. I had no idea how methodically she would destroy my life. 2 weeks after our breakup, my sister Amber called me, her voice shaking with rage. She demanded to know if it was true that I had forced myself on Jenna multiple times during our relationship. Confused and shocked, I denied it, vehemently explaining that Jenna was retaliating for being caught cheating. Amber hung up without listening. By that evening, my phone was exploding with texts from family members, childhood friends, and even colleagues expressing disgust, disappointment, or simple disbelief. Jenna had systematically contacted everyone in our social circle, sharing graphic, fabricated details about alleged assaults. The timing after our breakup and her threats meant nothing to people who had already decided my guilt. My parents demanded I come to their house immediately. Thinking I could explain the situation, I drove over, rehearsing how to calmly present the truth. I never got the chance. The moment I walked in, my father, a man who had never so much as raised his voice to me throughout my childhood, called me disgusting. My mother sat at the kitchen table, sobbing into her hands, unable to look at me. Amber screamed that she always knew something was off about me and that I should leave. Only my younger brother Jake remained silent, looking confused and torn. When I tried to catch his eye, seeking any ally in the room, he looked away. But she threatened me when I broke up with her. I tried to explain. She was cheating on me. This is revenge. She literally told me she would make everyone see me differently. "Stop lying," my father interrupted. "Jenna has been like a daughter to us. She would never make something like this up. I have the messages proving she cheated." I insisted, pulling out my phone. My mother finally looked up. "Even if that were true, it does not excuse what you did to her." "I did not do anything to her." My voice rose in desperation. My father stepped toward me, his face contorted with a rage I had never seen. "You are no son of mine," he said quietly. "Get out of this house and do not contact us again." I looked around at the faces of the people who had raised me, who had supposedly loved me unconditionally, and saw nothing but disgust and judgment. No one asked for my side of the story. No one questioned why Jenna would wait until after our breakup to make these accusations. The family I thought would support me through anything had already tried and convicted me without evidence. I left numb with shock. By the following week, the damage had spread to my professional life. Though Jenna had not filed any formal charges, the whispers and sideways glances at work became unbearable. Eventually, my boss called me in and explained they were letting me go due to workplace climate concerns. The real message was clear: the mere accusation had made me toxic. With no job, no family, and a rapidly dissolving social circle, I made the decision to leave Ohio entirely. I withdrew my savings, packed whatever would fit in my car, and drove east until I reached Philadelphia, a city where nobody knew my name or the lies told about me. The first 6 months were the darkest of my life. I rented a tiny studio apartment in a rundown neighborhood, the only place I could afford while job hunting. Each night I returned from another day of rejected applications to sit alone in a space that never felt like home. The isolation was suffocating. I had deleted all social media after receiving dozens of hateful messages, cutting off my last connections to my former life. One night, standing on the small balcony of my apartment, I looked down at the street 7 floors below and wondered if the fall would be enough to end the pain. The constant weight of being seen as a monster for something I had never done had become almost unbearable. As if the universe sensed my darkest thought, my phone buzzed with a text from Thomas, my former roommate from college who had remained neutral during the fallout. "You should know," the message read. "Jenna got drunk at Allie's party last night and admitted to several people that she made up the assault allegations because you broke her heart. Not everyone believes her retraction, but I thought you deserved to know." I stared at the screen, tears blurring my vision. The vindication I had desperately wanted had finally come, but it felt hollow. The damage was already done. My family had chosen to believe the worst about me without a second thought. They had thrown me away based on an accusation alone. I did not call them with the news. I did not triumphantly declare my innocence. Instead, I stepped back from the balcony edge and made a decision: I would rebuild my life without them. With Thomas's text as a small lifeline, I found the strength to continue. I scheduled an appointment with a therapist using a sliding scale community mental health center. Dr. Marshall was a soft-spoken man in his 50s who specialized in trauma. During our first session, I broke down, completely releasing months of pent-up anguish. "What hurts most," I admitted, "is not what she did, but that my family believed her instantly. They did not even give me the benefit of the doubt." "That is its own trauma," Dr. Marshall observed quietly. "Betrayal by those we trust most often cuts deeper than the original injury." While working through my pain in weekly therapy sessions, I took a job at a local coffee shop called Riverfront Roasters. The pay was minimum wage, barely covering my rent, but it gave me purpose and human interaction again. The owner, Marcus, was a 40-something former corporate executive who had left the rat race to pursue his passion for coffee. He worked alongside his employees, never treating us as beneath him. After 3 months of watching me arrive early, stay late, and learn every aspect of the business, Marcus called me into his small office. "You are overqualified for barista work, Bobby," he said bluntly. "I can tell by how you analyze operations and interact with customers. What is your story?" Something about his directness broke through my carefully constructed walls. I told him everything, expecting the usual look of doubt or discomfort. Instead, he nodded thoughtfully. "I believe you," he said simply. "And I need a manager. The pay is not great, but it comes with the apartment above the shop. Would you be interested?" That conversation changed the trajectory of my new life. The manager position gave me stability and purpose. The apartment above the shop, while small, felt safer than my previous place. I threw myself into learning the business, fascinated by everything from bean sourcing to customer loyalty programs. In the evenings, I started taking business classes at the community college, using part of my slightly improved income to invest in education. The routine of work, school, and therapy began healing parts of me I thought were permanently broken. A regular customer named Eleanor, a retired business professor in her 70s, began stopping by each morning for a pour-over coffee and often stayed to chat. After months of these conversations, she asked pointed questions about the shop's operations and my ideas for improvement. "You have good instincts," she told me one morning. "Have you ever considered opening your own place?" I laughed off the suggestion, explaining that entrepreneurship required capital I did not have. Eleanor sipped her coffee thoughtfully before sliding her business card across the counter. "I invest in people, not just ideas," she said. "Call me when you are ready to discuss specifics." A year and a half after arriving in Philadelphia broken and alone, I found myself sitting in Eleanor's elegant townhouse discussing business plans. She offered to invest $70,000 in exchange for 25% of a new coffee shop with clear terms for eventual buyout. Her belief in me was both terrifying and exhilarating. With Eleanor's investment and my savings, I opened Second Chances Coffee in a small storefront in an up-and-coming neighborhood. The name held private meaning for me, though customers often assumed it referred to the reclaimed materials used in the rustic interior design. The first year pushed me to my limits. I worked 16-hour days, handled every crisis from equipment failures to staff no-shows, and barely paid myself enough to live on. But slowly, the business found its footing. Customers became regulars. Regulars became friends. The community I had lost was gradually replaced by one I had built myself. During this intense period, romance was the furthest thing from my mind. The trauma of Jenna's betrayal had left me wary of relationships. But life has its own timing. Sophia began coming to the shop to edit manuscripts, spending hours at the corner table by the window. Unlike many customers who treated staff as invisible, she learned everyone's names and always asked genuine questions about our days. Our conversation started with coffee recommendations and gradually expanded to books, films, and eventually personal stories. After 3 months of these interactions, she left her card with her personal number written on the back. "In case you would like to continue our conversation somewhere you are not working," she explained with a smile. Our first date was at a small art gallery opening. I was terribly nervous, both from lack of practice dating and fear of eventually having to explain my past. But Sophia's calm presence made everything easier. She was thoughtfully direct, asking questions but never pushing when I hesitated to answer. After several months of dating, I finally gathered the courage to tell her everything. We sat on her apartment balcony as I recounted the accusations, my family's rejection, and the aftermath. When I finished, braced for her to show me the door, she simply took my hand. "Thank you for trusting me with that," she said. "It explains a lot about your caution. For what it is worth, I believe you, and I think your family failed you terribly." Her acceptance was a turning point. For the first time since the accusations, I felt truly seen by someone who knew my whole story. Our relationship deepened, providing healing I had not realized I still needed. As Second Chances Coffee thrived, I opened a second location across town. My staff grew to 15 employees across both shops, many of them people seeking their own fresh starts. I instituted a policy of hiring at least some staff who needed second chances themselves, whether recovering from addiction, re-entering society after incarceration, or rebuilding after personal setbacks. By year 3, I had built a life that surpassed what I had before. I had a successful business, a loving relationship, and a circle of friends who had chosen me rather than knowing me by default of family connection. I had not checked my family's social media or contacted them in any way since leaving Ohio. In my mind, they existed in a different lifetime. Sophia moved into my apartment above the original coffee shop. On the 4th anniversary of opening Second Chances, I proposed to her on the rooftop garden we had built together. 6 months later, we married in a small ceremony surrounded by our chosen family. My side of the aisle was filled with friends who had come into my life after the accusations, people who knew me only as the person I had become. "Are you sad your family is not here?" Sophia asked gently as we prepared for the ceremony. "The people who truly matter are here," I replied, surprised to realize I meant it. Last Tuesday morning, as I reviewed inventory orders in my office, my phone screen lit up with a name I had not seen in 6 years. Mom. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips as decades of complicated emotions crashed through me at once. My hands shook so badly that coffee spilled onto my desk. I watched the phone ring until it stopped, unable to make myself answer or silence it. A minute later, a voicemail notification appeared. It took 3 attempts before I could make myself listen to it. Bobby, my mother's voice wavered, sounding older than I remembered. "We know the truth now. Please call us. We have been trying to find you for months. We are so sorry. Please." I set the phone down and walked to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. In the mirror, I hardly recognized myself compared to the Bobby who had left Ohio. My formerly short-cropped hair now fell past my shoulders, gathered in a low bun. A neatly trimmed beard covered the lower half of my face. Years of hauling coffee supplies had broadened my shoulders and added muscle to my once slim frame. No wonder they had trouble finding me. I was not the same person. When I told Sophia about the call that evening, she took both my hands in hers. "What do you want to do?" she asked simply. "I do not know," I admitted. "Part of me wants answers. Another part never wants to speak to them again." "You do not have to decide right away," she assured me. "Whatever you choose, I support you." Over the next week, more calls came. My sister Amber left a tearful voicemail. My father, who had never been one for phone calls, left a brief message asking me to please call them. Even Jake, who had been just 19 when I left, reached out. From their messages, I pieced together what had happened. Jenna had moved back to their hometown after living in Chicago for several years. She had apparently accused a coworker of harassment, but witnesses contradicted her story, causing people to question her credibility. Somehow, Jake had run into Thomas at a wedding. Thomas, unaware of my complete estrangement from my family, mentioned the night years ago when Jenna had drunkenly admitted to fabricating the accusations against me. Jake, now an adult, with more perspective, had confronted Jenna directly about it and recorded her reluctant admission that she had lied about me assaulting her. The family that had immediately believed the worst about me was now frantically trying to make amends after finally discovering what I had told them from the beginning. Their attempts to contact me escalated. My aunt found the Second Chances Coffee business page and left a message. My mother sent emails to my business account. Jake found my LinkedIn profile and sent connection requests. Letters arrived at both shop locations. I learned they had hired a private investigator months ago who had finally tracked me to Philadelphia. The knowledge that they had been searching for me, trying to force their way back into my life without my consent, stirred a complex mix of emotions. After years of therapy, I had finally reached a place of peace. Now they threatened to disrupt that hard-won equilibrium. Dr. Marshall and I had extra sessions as I worked through these feelings. "They are not entitled to your forgiveness," he reminded me. "Reconciliation is entirely your choice on your terms, if at all." I thought I had more time to decide. But on a busy Saturday afternoon, Sophia's urgent text changed everything. "Your parents are here. In the shop, right now." By the time I raced downstairs from our apartment, Sophia had intercepted them. I hung back in the doorway to my office, heart pounding, as I observed the surreal scene. My mother, her hair now completely gray, clutched her purse nervously. My father, thinner than I remembered and stooped slightly, stood awkwardly in a coffee shop full of customers, completely unaware of the drama unfolding. Sophia, protective and poised, was politely but firmly telling them, "Bobby will contact you if and when he is ready. I must ask you to respect his space and privacy." They looked so out of place in the world I had built without them. Their eyes darted around, taking in the thriving business that bore no resemblance to my former corporate career. Did they expect to find the same 26-year-old marketing executive they had thrown away? That person no longer existed. My mother spotted me partially hidden in the doorway. Her hand flew to her mouth, eyes widening in recognition despite my changed appearance. I stepped back into my office before she could approach, and Sophia skillfully ushered them out, accepting a thick envelope they insisted on leaving. Later that night, I opened it alone. Inside was a letter of apology from my parents, detailing how they had discovered the truth and their shame at having failed me so completely. My father's handwriting, normally precise, was shaky, as he described his self-disgust at how he had treated his son. There was also a USB drive containing a video of Jenna admitting her lie when confronted by Jake in a social media post where she publicly retracted her accusations after being exposed. Beneath these were photographs. My nephew's birth, Jake's college graduation, Amber's wedding holiday gatherings, all moments from a family life that had continued without me. Their inclusion felt both like an olive branch and a painful reminder of all I had missed. I set the envelope aside and went to join Sophia on our rooftop garden, where the city lights twinkled below us like a reflection of the stars above. "They look older," I said finally. "6 years is a long time," she replied softly. "For them and for you." In the weeks following my parents' unexpected visit, I found myself at a crossroads. The life I had carefully built felt solid beneath my feet, yet the past pulled at me with questions that perhaps only my family could answer. After extensive conversations with Sophia and Dr. Marshall, I made my decision. I would meet with them, but on my terms. I arranged for a conference room at a neutral hotel downtown, specified a time limit of 2 hours, and made it clear that Sophia would be with me. Most importantly, I prepared myself emotionally for whatever might come, good or bad. When the day arrived, Sophia squeezed my hand as we entered the room where my family already waited. The initial moments were awkward beyond description, filled with tentative hugs that felt foreign after years without contact. My mother kept touching my face, my hair, my beard, murmuring about how different I looked. "You would not even recognize the inside changes," I said quietly. Once we sat down, the carefully constructed explanations began. My mother described their shock when Jake brought them the recording of Jenna's confession. My father explained their months-long search for me, hiring a private investigator when all other methods failed. Amber, now married with a toddler, detailed her own guilt at having led the charge against me, admitting she had been particularly close with Jenna and felt personally betrayed by our breakup. Jake, now 25, and working as an engineer, seemed the most genuinely remorseful. "I knew something did not add up," he said, meeting my eyes directly. "I was too young and scared to speak up then, but that is no excuse. I have been looking for you online for years." I listened to it all without interrupting. When they finished, I took a deep breath and delivered the statement I had rehearsed with Dr. Marshall. "When Jenna accused me, you immediately assumed the worst about me," I began, my voice steady. "Not one of you asked for my side or considered that the timing after our breakup might be suspicious. You threw me away based on an accusation alone, without evidence, without a chance to defend myself. Do you understand what that did to me?" I described the subsequent months of isolation, the night on the balcony when I had contemplated ending my life, the struggle to rebuild from absolute zero. I introduced them to Sophia and explained what our relationship meant to me, how she had accepted all of me when they had rejected me based on a lie. "I forgive you," I said, finally, "because carrying anger hurts me more than it hurts you. But forgiveness does not automatically mean reconciliation. That would have to be earned slowly with complete respect for the boundaries of the life I have built." My father, a proud man who had rarely shown emotion throughout my childhood, openly wept. "Will we ever be close again?" he asked. I considered the question carefully. "I do not know," I answered honestly. "The Bobby you knew does not exist anymore. I have built myself into someone stronger without you. Any relationship we might have would be between who we all are now, not who we were then." We established limited, carefully controlled contact after that meeting. Monthly video calls, occasional emails. They met Sophia's parents at a restaurant dinner I arranged and supervised. When we announced Sophia's pregnancy 4 months later, their joy was tempered by my clear boundaries about their role as grandparents, which they accepted without protest. 1 year after our first meeting, I made a decision that surprised even me. I expanded Second Chances Coffee to a third location in Columbus, Ohio, not far from my parents' neighborhood. The symbolism was not lost on anyone, least of all me. I was reclaiming space in a city that held my deepest wounds, but doing so entirely on my own terms. Jake applied to manage the new location, an opportunity to rebuild our relationship through professional collaboration. Though cautious, I agreed to give him the chance, finding that the adult he had become was someone I genuinely respected. As I stand here today overseeing the opening preparations for the Columbus shop, I reflect on the complex journey that brought me here. The false accusation that destroyed my former life ultimately led me to build something more authentic and fulfilling than the path I had been on before. I have learned that family is both a biological reality and a chosen commitment. Some blood ties can be broken beyond repair, while bonds formed in the aftermath of trauma can prove stronger than those created by shared DNA. Forgiveness is a personal choice that frees the forgiver, while reconciliation is an optional process that requires effort from all parties. The resilience I discovered within myself during those darkest days has become my greatest asset. The ability to lose everything and still rebuild is a strength I would never have known I possessed without this ordeal. Have you ever had to rebuild after losing trust in someone important? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to support more content like this. Consider sharing this video with someone who might be struggling with family estrangement or working to rebuild after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, sometimes the family you choose is more important than the one you are born into. Your worth is not determined by those who failed to see it,